Hey, what's up, guys? Got a cool little video here that I wanted to show off. So I kind of wanted to go over the differences between a Nexus autococker, a DC1, and a DC2. And I have two really cool examples right here. So, absolute greatest autococker ever made, bar none, in my opinion. I used to think it was the Carnivore until I picked up one of these. So I just kind of want to go over the differences, right? Because, I mean, we're talking $2,000, $2,500 gun versus, some colors we're talking 4, 5 grand, right? And depending on what you're looking for, uh, they're really not all that different. I played a cool scenario game with this. I've put some rounds through this, rebuilt both of them, got a kind of a cool understanding of them. And luckily, I have a really awesome boss. I work for Curated Paintball, so he was nice enough to kind of send me these and let me mess around with them a little bit. So this is a Nexus. It's a little bit different than a standard Nexus because it is factory E2 boarded. So you got the DC2 E2 plate and front solenoid housing, and it has a standard E2 frame. So versus this is a DC2 here, and this is fully factory, to my knowledge at least. Could be wrong on something, but all right. So to go over some of the differences, the biggest glaring one you're going to see is the milling here. So, which from a distance, kind of hard, but the DC2 definitely has a more complex milling, which is very nice. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit. Too far. As you can see, the nice sight rail up here is a little bit bigger, nicer milled. Your little back piece right here, it is definitely a bit skinnier than the Nexus overall. I don't know if there's a good way to show that, but the DC2 is definitely a little bit more milled. As you can see, you have basically kind of like an ultralight milling, and then these two lines right here, where the DC2, you have these cool, almost remind me of like a Nexus Ego kind of milling. One of the biggest things you can tell, if you're just kind of looking to buy one, is the Nexus is going to have the Nexus jewels in the back, where DC2 is going to have them in the front. And then Planet Eclipse is going to be in the front, Planet Eclipse is going to be in the back. The Nexus jewels are identical, but the Planet Eclipse ones are actually a different shape. Or maybe not a different shape, maybe flipped like that, but a different color, at least. But there is actually some differences with the guns themselves. So, like I said, this is a factory E2 boarded Nexus. So originally, this would have had an E1 frame on it, which let me grab one. Okay, yeah, here's a good example of an E1 frame, at least the solenoid here, where it has the open bottom, versus E2s are fully enclosed. But this is what I would call more of a war frame, like you would see on a Carnivore. This is going to be more of a E1 frame here, so kind of the same shape as an E2. Different triggers, obviously, they're not interchangeable. I think E2s feel nicer, mainly in the grips. But that main difference is going to be the solenoid housing and the board. So, like I said, open, totally sealed. But the main thing you're going to notice is here's an E2 board. This is a 0B versus an E1. So these are typically only going to be semi. I'm not sure if you can flash them, where these are going to do pretty much any style you need. PSP, NXL. So that is probably going to be the the biggest differential between a Nexus and a DC2. I'm sure some of the later Nexuses kind of came out with maybe more like this, like updated. I do know this was custom from factory. So the original Nexus was 2005, DC1 was 2004, which was basically this gun with an E1 frame on it. And then DC2 came out in 2005, I believe. But I'm sure they were still making Nexuses at that point. Another difference, at least compared to a normal autococker, is you'll notice that there is no front block, not a standard one. So LPR and solenoid are actually attached by the VASA there, and the RAM is actually attached by a bracket, and that is the same on DC2 and Nexus. Another thing that is different is the Nexus is going to have a standard frame, E1 or E2, where the DC2s and DC1s, I believe DC1s had this as well, they have custom frames. Only guns that ever came with it. They look like an Ego frame, feel like an Ego frame, but they actually have a built-in beaver tail here. So that's one other big difference between the DCs and the Nexus. Another thing is that I believe the Nexuses came with a Bell Sales RAM, but that might be to this one. It's so hard to tell because everybody changes stuff. But one thing I do know is the Nexuses came with a full-size Bell Sales LPR, where the DC2s came with the Mini Evo, which is still a Bell Sales LPR, but mini. I don't really believe there's anything else. You're mainly paying for the milling and the fact that there's only like 12 pink ladies, there's only like 22 turbulences, stuff like that. So, but I did just kind of want to show them off because when are you ever going to have both of these in the same place? But yeah, you got a milling difference. You got basically just a smaller LPR, a little bit nicer of a RAM. You do have that nice custom frame with the built-in beaver tail. Obviously, you would have had the E2 frame versus the E1. Even on the DC1s, you would only have a E1 frame. But besides that, they are virtually the same marker. And they are super awesome shooters. I will go ahead and air this one up so you can kind of hear it. Now, if you are looking for one of these to play with, I think they shoot the same. I think they perform the same in every way. I think they feel the same in the hand. But you know, it's the difference between pulling up with a a Mustang Mach 1 and a Shelby GT500, right? So oh. Batteries are dead in this one. Guess we'll do the DC2 instead. But yeah, you're paying to be able to say that you have a DC2. But I did just kind of want to go over the differences because I always thought that they were not the same gun at all. And they kind of are. Obviously, all Planet Eclipse internals on both of them. Which I've always considered more Bell Sales than Planet Eclipse. Which, not a problem, obviously. But I mean, pound for pound, if you have a nice carnivore, throw your carnivore away, get a Nexus. That's my 2 cents. They're the smallest, the smoothest, the nicest looking. They are truly incredible. And they're so quiet. This thing's shooting 300 right now. I mean, come on. They are just the nicest autocockers ever made. And I just wanted to make this because there's no good videos kind of explaining the difference. So if If you want my 2 cents, just get a Nexus. But if you want to be the guy that your girlfriend worries about, get the DC2. You know, if you want to be the coolest guy at the field at any given moment, I don't know how many guns you can pull out that beat a DC2. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be making a video here kind of explaining the differences between all the frames. Just because I'm lucky enough to have, 20 E-blades in front of me. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time.